These testimonials are representative of my or our experiences, but the exact results and experience will be unique and individual to each person. The information provided herein is not medical advice and is not intended to substitute for the advice of your personal physician or other healthcare providers. Welcome to The Beautiful Bag. This is your host, LeeAnne Hayden, cancer survivor, and more importantly, Ostomy lifer. Each and every week, I'm going to be bringing a special guest or some inspiration for you and a few little stories along the way so that you can learn what life is like for us to be living in an ostomy and why we all think it's a beautiful bag. So listen in and let's get started. Hello, and welcome to this week's The Beautiful Bag podcast episode. I am your host, LeeAnne Hayden, coming to you from the lovely state of New Hampshire. I hope everything is going amazing for you today. So in this week's episode, I want to talk to you about getting support in the ostomy community. You know, this past weekend, there was an event here in Massachusetts that Keyla put on, and it was a charity event for the IBD community, and Keyla is an ostomate just like one of us. And the thing that I loved to see is the community coming together to help her and support her in putting this charity event together. Meaning there were a couple of ostomates who flew in to be in the fashion show, Kimberly Coleman and Geraldine Taylor, they came in to do that. Then there was Yolanda, who has an amazing lingerie line for ostomates. She came in to showcase her line, and then some other ostomates that sent in donations and things for the VIP bags. And it really made my heart sing watching us all come together. And it's so important because typically, when we go through this, we think we're alone. We don't know that there's a whole bunch of other people around in this world just like us. I mean, here in the US alone, there's anywhere from 750,000 to 1 million people in an ostomy, in some kind of an ostomy, whether it's a colostomy, an ileostomy, a urostomy, they're in an ostomy. So there's plenty of people for us to find to build that community, and community is important. It's important because we understand each other. We know what each other is going through. We can have that communication or that conversation of, oh no, I had a leak. How do I handle it? Or this happened to me. How do I handle it? And so I wanted to come to you this week and talk about community and talk about finding a community, right? It's one of the biggest questions that I didn't know the answer to in the beginning. There's plenty of places for you to find a community of like-minded people or people who live with an ostomy. It took me almost 5 years to find it, and I wished that I would have known about it sooner. So what did I do for those 5 years? Well, for starters, this is a little story, I love to meditate. And one time during my meditation, and it was about 2 weeks after my surgery, I came out of the meditation and I don't know what personally came over me, but I grabbed a poster from back in my fitness days of me running on a beach, in that body that I thought was perfect, but still didn't appreciate in the moment. And I went downstairs into my office and I turned on the camera, opened up Facebook, turned on the camera, and went on to Facebook Live. And guys, this was 7 years ago. So Facebook Live at the moment was brand new, right? It was a thing I didn't even realize. So I don't know what came over me. And I just started to share what I had just gone through over those last 2 weeks. Meaning, people had been following me and knew that I was going through, the cancer scare. Nobody really understood totally what it was all about. And then coming out and then ending up in an ostomy. And so I've shared it right on Facebook and told everybody, we got to appreciate our bodies regardless of the situation we're in. And over 25,000 people viewed that video. And then from there, I was invited to share my story on stage in front of 200 women. And that was at like week 6. It was an event out in California that my girlfriend Lori Harder was putting on. And she asked me to come up and share my story. And once I shared my story, you could feel the entire room shift. And it made me realize in that moment how important it was for me, for us to communicate and to share our stories. Because from there, I started posting on Instagram and Facebook. I started using the hashtag Ostomy. The next thing I know, I started finding people who are ostomates too. People started following me. I started following them. We started communicating together. And then 2 years, this podcast was born. This podcast was born in order for me to share my stories, in order for me to reach you, in order for me to have you come into this community and share your stories with us as well. The more I've gotten to know others in this community, the more I want to be louder about it. I knew I couldn't be the only one. And it was great to hear so many stories of survival and how we feel like we're being given a second chance in life, right? And so for me, this podcast is a way to get this message out. So where do we find our communities? You can find our communities right on social media, right? You can do what I did. You can go search the hashtag Ostomy. And if you're not, Ostomy, you can do that on Instagram. You can do that on Facebook. Guys, even TikTok. TikTok is taking off. And I'm surprised that every time I personally post, and it doesn't have to be me in my ostomy showing my bag or being in my underwear, but if I post about an ostomy or about community or something like that, or I do a video talking about what an ostomy is, the amount of views and the amount of attention that it gets, because people want to understand. You'd be surprised at how many people either know someone that's in one, or know someone who almost had to be one, or know someone that's suffering from cancer right now, or IBD, Crohn's, colitis, you name it. Everybody knows someone. And so those people get to watch what we do, right? Get to watch what we talk about. And your community can grow from there, right? I've always loved to get to know people. And then with all my sales skills I have had in the past, it's easy for me to start a conversation or reach out to someone. And you may not feel the same way, right? But just know you can reach out to me or anyone in the community, and we would welcome you with open arms. You're not alone in this. Like I said, there's 725,000 to a million people in this country alone that you can find your tribe. There's places too that you can do. You can join Facebook groups, right? You can search Ostomy on Facebook and join Facebook groups. Just beware in there. Some people, some of the groups can bring you down, some can bring you up. So pick and choose, what's right for you. And if you're not the type of person that wants to be on social media, but you're listening to this podcast, or you heard about it and you're listening to this episode, or you read it on my newsletter, understand that you can find them through the UOAA, United Ostomy Association of America, right? You can go right to ostomy.org. There's a huge community right there. They're actually having an event coming up in August in Houston, Texas. It's their 8th annual ostomy event, which I know I'm going, and I know a bunch of other ostomates are going as well. So there's that you can go and join and maybe come and hang out with us. You can even go to your manufacturers. I didn't know it. And as you guys know, I do a lot of work with Hollister, because Hollister is the brand that I personally wear. And I've been doing a lot with Hollister. Again, they found me on social media, but I didn't know that you could reach out to them. You could reach out to your manufacturer. They have a way for you to connect with the community as well. I know for Hollister, it's called Secure Start Services. And you can reach out to clinicians. They can connect you with other ostomates. There's so many ways for you to find your community that you don't have to just think you're on your own, because you're not. You're not. Ever, right? We're always here. We're always here to help. We're always here to support. Um, I've connected with so many ostomates over these last 2 years of doing this podcast that I've I know I've taken a break here and there because sometimes you just need it. But it's too important. It's too important not to have these episodes. It's too important for you not to hear other people's stories to relate. And if you're listening to this and you're like, LeeAnne, I want a community. I want to be with people. Come join us in Houston if you can. And if you can't, guys, send me an email. My email is LeeAnne@LeeAnneHayden.com. You can head over to my website, LeeAnneHayden.com. You can connect with me there, subscribe to the newsletter. I'll introduce you to many, many, many ostomates that I have met over the years so that you can find a way to connect with somebody, to connect with more than somebody, connect with other people that are just like you. Because we're not alone. We're not alone. And the saddest thing for me is for people to be afraid to not save their lives and live their lives. I've heard stories of people who, let's say they had cancer and the only way out of removing the cancer was for them to be in an ostomy. And they chose death over life. And that makes me sad. It makes me sad, and it makes me want to scream louder and have this conversation more because we're living in it. Yes, we have our bad days. Yes, we had our bad days, but we also have amazing days. There's so many days that go by, and I know you feel this, that I forget I have an ostomy. I forget that it's even there. I'm just going on with my normal everyday life. But it sometimes is a beautiful thing to have somebody that you can connect with. So I'm always here for you. The other ostomates are always here for you. I will let you know of any other events that I know of that are coming up where people are gathering and getting together. And if you can make those events, that would be amazing. So like I said, the first one that I do know about is the UOAA convention, 8th annual convention in Houston, Texas. You can go to ostomy.org, get their information, and get yourself to that event. It looks like it's going to be a good time. We'll all have a good time just being together anyway. So that's all I wanted to bring you this week. I wanted to just chat with you a little bit about community, where to find it, how important it is for you to continue to share your story. And that's all I had for you this week. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. Don't forget, guys, share this podcast, subscribe. Oh, and if you could do me the biggest favor, go to wherever you listen to this podcast, whether it's Apple Podcast or Google Podcast, and rate and write a review. It would mean a ton to me. It would bring a lot more attention to the podcast. It would bring your stories to life even more. So if you could do that, I would truly appreciate it. And hopefully I get to meet you all in person soon. And don't forget to run over to my website, LeeAnneHayden.com, and subscribe to the weekly, the dose of confidence. That's what I call it. And we'll chat soon.
Thank you so much for joining us this week. If you enjoyed this podcast, get the behind the scenes at LeeAnneHayden.com/ostomy updates. And also, if you found this episode encouraging, please screenshot it and share it on Instagram. And don't forget to tag me and also the person who was on the episode with me. I occasionally will do special gifts for anyone who does do a screenshot and share it on Instagram or in your stories. Also, lastly, please go to Apple or Google, rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast to keep up with them every single week. I enjoy you guys. Thank you so much for being here.